Hey, everyone! Good day to you all. Today, I want to share a story about the relationship between a bride to be and her mother in law. I don't consider myself a neat freak, and a bit of unwashed dishes or dust on the floor doesn't shock me. However, what's going on at my mother in law's house crosses all boundaries. It's a real pigsty. That's why I don't want to send my son to hang out in such unsanitary conditions. But my husband sees things differently and gets upset with me. Our relationship with my mother in law is not strained, but it's not close either. We communicate without yelling or scandals. However, I refuse to visit her. As a fiance, seeing constant chaos and dirt at her house made me decide never to step foot there again. After a short stay at her place, I had to throw away socks and wash clothes immediately. The greasy forks and spoons, the fatty residue on plates, it all disgusted me. After that, I started observing my fiance's behavior, fearing he might be just as messy as his mom. Fortunately, he's the complete opposite. Looking at my mother in law, it's hard to imagine her having a pigsty at home. She looks decent and well groomed, clean and ironed clothes, manicured hands. When we were newlyweds without kids, I made up excuses to avoid visiting her and often invited her to our place. Everything was fine and everyone was happy. But then our son came into the picture. While he was little, I invited my mother in law to our place. But now that our son is growing up, Grandma wants him to visit her sometimes, even on weekends. My husband supports this idea. Why not let Grandma spend time with our son? It's a pleasure for her. And for us, it's a chance to have some alone time, my husband says. I understand him, of course. After having a child, we don't have much free time to spend together. My parents live far away and can't take our son. But my mother-in-law and can't take our son. But my mother-in-law is nearby and willing to have some fun with her grandson. I don't have solid reasons to refuse her. But I can't directly tell my husband that his mom is a real slob and her house is unsanitary. I'm sure it would lead to a big argument. Besides, I've never seen anything bad from my mother in law's side. I respect that everyone has the right to live the way they want. But imagining my son playing on a dirty floor, putting who knows what in his mouth, crawling on a greasy sofa, it makes me sick. I don't know what to do or how to handle this situation. I need some time to think. I realize I can't tell the truth to my mother in law or my husband in this situation, but I've run out of excuses. What can I do to avoid hurting anyone and prevent a scandal? The story is about how my sister drops her child off at my door and runs away to avoid taking care of him herself. Lately, I've been having constant conflicts with my sister. Her child often gets sick, and she doesn't want to take sick leave. So she decided that since I'm on maternity leave, why not ask me to take care of my nephew while he's sick? But I refused her request because I have an infant at home, and having my nephew with a cold could make my little one sick too. Then my sister resorted to trickery. She brings the chicory. She brings the child, leaves him outside my door, and runs away. My husband and I live well in our own apartment that my husband inherited from his grandmother. My husband earns well, and I stay at home with the baby. We don't ask for help from anyone and manage on our own. Besides, there's not really anyone to help. My mom lives far away, and my sister has her own problems. However, my sister constantly tries to solve her problems at my expense. Initially, she would drop her child off with us only on weekends, but now the situation is getting out of hand. My sister Diana got married before me and got pregnant almost immediately. Her son is now 5 years old, and they live as a family in a mortgaged apartment. Diana and her husband work, but they always complain about not having enough money. The mortgage takes almost half of our income, my sister says. And what are we supposed to live on? You're lucky you snagged a guy with an apartment. So, when I went on maternity leave, my sister was thrilled. I was surprised at first, but Diana spilled the beans that her son often gets sick. It's not profitable to take sick. It's not profitable to take sick leave, and she doesn't get along well with her mother in law. According to Diana, her mother in law constantly criticizes her for not taking care of her grandchildren. Now, with me on leave, she believes I can help her. During my pregnancy, I still helped my sister somehow, even though I wasn't thrilled about having to take care of a sick nephew while being pregnant. I was always afraid of getting sick myself, and taking care of a sick child was a lot of work. Feeding, giving medicine, putting to sleep, and the little one was quite demanding and fussy. I don't know how I managed. When my husband and I had our daughter, Diana stopped bringing her son to us. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she understood that I was already struggling with my little one, and adding another child to the mix was too much, especially since my daughter was a very restless baby, only slept in my arms, and didn't sleep in her crib or stroller at all. I was extremely tired. But about a month ago, Diana suddenly decided that she could count on my help again because, according to her, my daughter is already grown up and I have plenty of free time. Please help! My son has a fever, and they didn't accept him at daycare. I can't take sick leave. My boss will be mad. My husband is on a business trip, she pleaded when I met her at my door one morning. I had a sleepless night and was completely exhausted, but I agreed to help my sister one last time. I kept her son at my place. Diana expressed her gratitude and rushed to work. I thought that day would never end. My baby was crying all the time, and my nephew was being difficult. I barely made it through the day and warned my sister that I wouldn't be able to take care of her child anymore. Yes, of course, I understand, Diana replied. It's just force majeure. I was sure my sister understood, and she would manage on her own. However, within a week, the situation repeated itself. I was getting angrier with my sister and told her that this was definitely the last time. Diana assured me that she understood and left for work, but the next day I heard the doorbell again. When I opened the door, I saw my sick and runny-nosed nephew standing alone. I was shocked. My sister had left her son near my apartment and ran away. Naturally, I took the child into my home. How could she abandon him like that? In the evening, I confronted Diana about this unfair and awful behavior. She silently listened, nodded her head, and assured me it was definitely the last time. She was just afraid I would refuse. Of course, I would have refused. I have a small daughter and now a sick nephew who also needs attention. I naturally kept the children in separate rooms, but running around between them all day was just exhausting. For 2 weeks, Diana didn't contact me. I had already calmed down, relaxed, and was taking care of my daughter and the house. But, as it turned out, I rejoiced too soon. One morning, the doorbell rang again. At the door stood my sick nephew with a terrible cough. I brought the boy into the apartment, fed him breakfast, and called my sister, but she didn't answer the phone. I was furious, got dressed, called a taxi, and took the sick child to my sister's mother-in-law. When I arrived, I left the surprised grandmother with her grandson, explained the situation, and returned home. The unsuspecting grandmother called her son and told him about what his wife was doing. Diana immediately called my number and started yelling about what she had to endure from her husband because of her behavior. "You've caused me a lot of problems. I had a fight with my husband because of you," Diana shouted into the phone. "Why are you leaving your son with me?" I tried to respond as calmly as possible. "I warned you that I couldn't take care of him anymore. Don't you understand that I need to work to pay the mortgage?" "Ah, your husband got an apartment and you're refusing to help me? Is that how sisters act?" That's the story. Diana is trying to solve her problems using my hands, literally leaving her sick child at my door. She knows very well that I have a small daughter and no one else to help me. I warned her that I couldn't take care of